Happy Wednesday, friends. Grab your whiteboard and your marker. We're going to practice pushing some sounds really quickly. Good job. All right. Our first word is 10. N. What is the consonant that we hear at the beginning of the word 10? T. Good job. My vowel, exercise, energy. Good, you got it, E. Remember, my vowels are A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. 10, N. Very good. 10. All right, erase your board. My next word is bed. Ed. Bed. What is my beginning sound in bed? B. Very good. My middle sound, E. Good. Bed. D. Now I know this is a B because it has my bat and then my ball. My D is the other way around. So I know I have my B and my D going the correct way. My last word is fin. 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 What do I hear at the beginning of my word fin? F. Good job. Igloo. Good. N. Very good. Fin. All right, erase your board and put your marker and everything to the side. You're not going to need it for our writing time. Now, Miss Latham read you 2 stories so far about gingerbread characters. Now, the very first book that we read was called The Gingerbread Man. And in that story, we had a few characters. We had the grandma, the grandfather, we had a pig, we had a cow, we had a fox, and we had a butcher with a knife. Now, in that story, at the end of the story, remember that gingerbread man got eaten because the fox outsmarted that man. Now, yesterday, I read you to the gingerbread girl, which I love, and she outsmarted the fox. She did not get eaten at the end of the story, so those were a few differences. There were also some different characters in that story that we talked about yesterday. Our story today is going to be the gingerbread baby. All right, let's see how this story is the same or different of the other 2. It was cold outside. It was warm inside. A fine day for a gingerbread, Maddie thought. Maddie's mother put the big blue bowl on the table and lit the stove. Maddie took down a worn-looking cookbook with old-fashioned writing on the cover. He opened it up to the page that said, Gingerbread Boy. They measured and mixed. Maddie rolled the dough into the shape of a gingerbread boy and they popped him in the oven. Bake a full 8 minutes, no more, no less. Do not peek, the recipe read. Maddie listened to the clock. Tick, tock, tick, tock. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3, 4, 5. Maddie couldn't wait any longer. He opened the oven door to take a peek. Instead of a gingerbread boy, out jumped a gingerbread baby. He pranced around the big blue bowl. I am the gingerbread baby, fresh from the pan. If you want me, catch me if you can. Maddie's mother reached for the gingerbread baby to put him back into the oven, but he ran all around the kitchen. The door opened and in came Maddie's father. What's that delicious smell? He asked as the gingerbread baby tumbled through his legs and outside into the yard. He ran by the tabby cat. She twitched her tail and sprang to him. They rumbled and tumbled, but the gingerbread baby came out on top. He ran toward the garden wall. The dog caught a whiff of the tasty ginger and sniffed along behind him, but the gingerbread baby was halfway up to the dog when the dog caught him. He barked and barked as the gingerbread baby climbed over the wall. Maddie was still inside. He heard his mother and father yelling. He heard a cat meowing and a dog barking. And he heard the gingerbread baby shouting, catch me if you can. Maddie opened up the worn-looking cookbook for a second time. Meanwhile, the gingerbread baby wheeled on down the path and into the barn. The goats looked up as he somersaulted across their backs. One last try to catch him, but the gingerbread baby was too fast. Martha and Madeline were standing by the well when the gingerbread baby stopped to take a drink. They looked at each other and winked. Martha started to talk to him while Madeline tiptoed up behind him with the bucket, but they couldn't fool that gingerbread baby. He took a braid from Martha and a braid from Madeline, and he tied them in a knot and ran down the road. Back in the house, Maddie stirred and mixed and rolled her dough and shaped it, put it in a pan and in the oven. Tick tock, 8 long minutes. This time he didn't peek. I will catch him if I can, Maddie said to himself. As he was bouncing along, the gingerbread baby saw a farm wagon just ahead. He jumped in and settled down for the ride next to Mama Pig. The smell of the gingerbread was too much for her. She tossed him high in the air, closed her eyes, and opened her mouth. But the gingerbread baby twisted in the air and came down hard on her porky snout. I am the gingerbread baby, too quick for the mother and father, too fast for the cat, the dog, the goats, too clever for Martha and Madeline, too smart for the Mama Pig. Who's left? Catch me if you can. Now there are some different characters already. Martha and Madeline, the cat, a goat. So be thinking about that. Feeling smug, the gingerbread baby strolled along by himself until he came to a bridge that crossed over the village. Just as he got to the middle, he heard running feet behind him and saw a crowd of villagers ahead of him. The gingerbread baby was trapped. He jumped up onto the railing, backflipped through the air, and landed on a chunk of ice floating down the river. The ice bobbled along with the gingerbread baby dancing on top and singing in a loud voice, "Look at me, and what do you see? The best gingerbread baby ever," until his feet got cold and he jumped ashore. Who was watching from the trees? It was the fox. He crept up behind the gingerbread baby, ready to eat him up, but the fox couldn't help himself, and he licked his chops. Smack! The gingerbread baby heard him and ran as fast as he could. So that's one thing that's the same. There's another fox in the story. Just when the fox was catching up, the gingerbread baby saw the Milk the Cheese Man with the can of milk. The perfect hiding place, he thought. He lifted the lid and lowered himself inside. He was so pleased that he sang at the top of his gingerbread voice, "Ha ha, hee, you'll never find me. I'm the gingerbread baby. Catch me if you can." The Milk and Cheese Man heard the gingerbread baby's voice. "Who is meddling with my milk?" he shouted and lifted the lid. But the gingerbread baby was ready. He jumped up and tweaked his nose. Now the Milk and the Cheese Man, the fox, the villagers, the Mama Pig, Martha and Madeline, the bleating goats, the barking dog, the meowing cat, the father and the mother were all after the gingerbread baby and getting closer, and he knew it. The brash baby was not as peppy as he proved he had been. He sniffed the familiar smell and followed his nose into the woods. He couldn't believe what he saw. There in the middle of a clearing was a gingerbread house, frosted with sugar, covered with candy, and doors with peppermint handles wide open. The gingerbread baby clapped his hands with glee and ran inside. There hasn't been one of those before in any of our stories. In the tick, tick, tock, everyone arrived in the clearing, but all they found were a few bites of frosting, a peppermint candy, and some crumbs. The father explained, "The gingerbread baby has finally met his match. I wonder who it was with." The mother said, "Let's go home and tell Maddie." "Hello, Maddie," his father said when they got home. "We never did catch that gingerbread baby. All we found were some crumbs in the snow." "I see you've been busy," his mother said, looking at the gingerbread house Maddie was holding. "Too bad we never caught that gingerbread baby." "Too bad," said Maddie. Only Maddie could hear the tiny voice from inside the gingerbread house. "I'm the little gingerbread baby, lucky as can be to be living in the house that Maddie made for me." The end. So it even had a different ending. So that's what you're going to write about today. What was this? How was this ending different than the rest? There was no fox that ate the gingerbread baby. It was Maddie who made him a gingerbread house. You are right. I cannot wait to see your writing. Make sure you upload it into your Google Slides. I'll see you tomorrow for our last gingerbread story.